Good. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another edition of the Narik channel. I'm your boy Narik Chase, and in this video, we're going to be celebrating 2022 Halloween. So this is like my Halloween edition. I want to say it was something very special. Unfortunately, I did want to run a whole bunch of streams today. I had so many different topics and so many different videos that I had set up, and I was like, "Oh yes, we're just going to be streaming all day." But unfortunately, I'm working on a card game, and I have been developing this for the debut of my book. So my card game will jump off the same day my book comes out. And who knew that designing your own card game was, I don't know, time consuming. So that right there, and plus what we have also uh, is the fact that we're on a schedule. So that's why a lot of times you don't see me streaming as consistently as I usually would do. But that's why I've been so busy between working on my book and this card game to kind of go in conjunction with each other. But so hopefully we get all of that squared away. Uh, and hopefully we have fun with this video. That's all I can do pretty much at this moment. Just, hey, say I'm sorry. I should have started streaming earlier and let you guys have some fun with this. So before I get into this, be sure to hit that like, share, subscribe, and that notification button to get the best of what we got going on this channel. Let me close some of these tabs because I got like a million of them, and I don't have super 5G style internet, and I don't want this thing to jam up. But anyways, we're going to start. We're just going to jump right into it. Happy Halloween 2022, y'all. I know the year's been really crazy. I know people sitting here trying to get back to a sense of normalcy. So society is just going to hell in the handbasket. Just a lot of really messed up things and interesting things happening nowadays. But the one thing that we can, um, know that will be consistent is shitty movies. Because this year, especially with all the social issues that have been popping up, uh, been a lot of pretty crappy movies coming out. So decided, you know what, we're gonna do a best and worst horror films of 2022 so far, and I've watched quite a few of them. Now, when I say horror, I mean more horror themed because some of these aren't necessarily full on horror. They do have some strong horror elements, and some of these are horror themed, like Halloween themed, but not necessarily horror. But I decided to just go ahead and include those all together so that way, hey, it's all one big jamboree. Now, I've watched not every movie that came out, not every horror movie came out, not every big horror movie that came out. So this is just the list of the movies that I've seen this year, me personally. So let's go ahead and get into it now. For those who don't know, I'm a fan of the film The Mist. It's a book based. It's based on a book by Stephen King. I like the movie The Fog. The remake, not so much. The Mist, the television series, I thought was okay, but could have been better. And I think it's more of I was expecting it to be closer to the book and closer to the movie than what it was. Which honestly, I would have bought it more had it been maybe a sequel to the film, maybe taking place in a different section of town, which probably would have had landed a better reception than what it did, as is this weird remake or whatever. But so I ended up finding another film that's about creatures, otherworldly creatures that exist in this mist, and this movie called Creature of the Mist. Now, this is more of the mist, but if it was set in feudal Japan or feudal China, and interesting concept. Interesting concept. This movie was okay. It was okay. It could have been better on a lot of fronts. One of the problems I had with the film was the lack of character development, the lack of just the characters themselves. Uh, as a horror, I think it was okay. It could have dealt. It could have been better had there not been the whole, in these Asian films that have the martial arts and the people sitting here jumping 10 feet into the air and stuff like that. I think the film would have did a lot better had they not taken that approach and been a bit more grounded. That's one reason I like the television series Kingdom about the zombie plague that jumps off in Feudal Japan, or Feudal China one. I think it's Japan actually, or Feudal Korea. And it's one of those. It's Asian inspired countries. I'm not sure which. Asian established countries. I'm not sure which one it is, but that's why I like that series so much because it does feel a bit more grounded. It has these zombie horror elements. It's very cool. It's a really cool premise. And in this film, you have the mist, but it's set in feudal Japan. There's no people using guns. They're using swords and martial arts and bows and arrows and stuff like that. It's actually a pretty interesting premise. Like I said, the movie was okay. The writing could have been a bit better. There was a subplot here and there that I felt was just really unneeded, and it kind of hampered the whole reason for what's going on. Yes, it was like a decent reason, but I was like it was still pretty stupid. That subplot could have just been its own little thing and not connected to the whole creature of the mist. Because in the film, it's this giant monster that's exuding this mist out of it, and then of course there's little monsters hanging on to it, I guess, and monsters flying around it. It definitely looks like a ripoff of the giant monster at the end of the mist. Also, there are some, I guess you could say, cameo like creature scenes that are in it. For instance, in the mist, there was the sequence where these people were attacked by these tentacles in the garage, and you have a similar scene, or what's set those similar scenes in this movie. That is flying creatures that come out of it, similar to the flying creatures that were in the mist. I was half expecting spiders to pop up, but they didn't, so I thought that was a pretty good plus. And there was a bit of internal bickering, but ultimately, I still think that this could have been. In fact, yes, there was even a scene where the beginning, when all of this jumps off, there was a woman that said, "Hey, I need to get home to my kids." The exact same, similar to the woman in the mist that said the exact same thing. Now, if you think about it, potentially, if you're in a village or something like this happened, yeah, it could be like a mom or a dad just outside, um, going to get groceries, running errands, stuff while the kids are at the house. But still, I was like, yeah, that's a ripoff of the mist. This movie could have done a better job differentiating itself. All of these tropes, and a lot of these martial arts, like this. There's this thing where there's a character attempting to usurp the royalty or whatever, and even though his motivation is pretty established, I'm like, okay, I can understand why we do that. I don't think it was really necessary because I don't think it really added much. Because I'm like, well, why would you go after this guy and not this guy? You went to the person that had the least amount of power and not and went after the person that could actually change things. So I was worried about that. There was also this really badass warrior chick that was in the film, and you don't learn nothing about her. And I was like, she was a really cool character. Why not sit here and focus on what she got going on? It wasn't really scary. It definitely had the horror elements to it, but ultimately, this film turns out much as a mere. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Yeah, I know how I am. I have apparently no iron and everything, so I'm always tired. I'm always exhausted, and a lot of times I'm on here doing podcasts and stuff. I can't edit it out, so I'm yawning. So forgive me for that. Taking medication for it. It's not quite working, but anyways, Creature of the Mist. It's not good, it's not really particularly bad. It just kind of fits in that could have been better. Could have been better category. I would love to actually come back, break that movie down, and possibly do how they could have made it a better movie. And maybe in the future I would, if I have more time, or yeah, or are interested in seeing it. But moving on, I watched Day Shift, which was a Netflix, came out on Netflix, and it follows Jamie Foxx, who's this vampire hunter who ends up coming across this business, this vampire that's trying to take over California or Compton or wherever the hell they are in. And as a horror film, again, I'd say that this movie is decent. There are certainly some pretty cool elements here and there. There's horror. I don't see it as a horror. Yes, there are vampires. Yes, there's people die a lot, are dying a lot in this, both humans and vampires. I say this is a very stylized film because the fight choreography is actually pretty good. A lot of the choreography that they utilize in this film is actually really good. The way it's shot, how impactful it is. There's actually a really cool fight at the beginning of the movie with Jamie Foxx and this vampire lady. Pretty cool way it's shot and everything. Um, but I there's a lot about this movie that I didn't like because it felt like it just relied on big names to actually push itself. Of course, Snoop Dogg's in the film, and I will say Snoop Dogg does play some a slightly different role than what you typically see him as. That is into what he says and does at the end of the movie. But I will say up until that moment, I did enjoy Snoop Dogg, even though it doesn't really have a big. Zach Efron, I think is his name, is in the film. He ends up partnering up with Jamie Foxx, and I kind of did like that dynamic. It's kind of cliche. He, Zach Efron is the guy that's more by the book. Lacks experience in the field. Jamie Foxx is more of the loose cannon, but he's more experienced. He's a bit grouchy. And then there's a story, of course, where his ex-wife is taking his you know there's marital problems because he keeps his life the vampire slaying secret from his wife and their ex-wives now, and he has a daughter and struggles to see her because of this whole vampire venture that he got going on. It's pretty cut and paste, pretty stereotypical, pretty cliche. Mm, as far as horror, I don't think it does enough towards that. I think it tries to be a bit more stylish than actually deep. But the biggest complaint I have about this film is the fact that there seems like there's a lot missing from the story itself. The storytelling feels like it's lacking in content. There are things that happen and references made, but there's no buildup of it throughout the film, so you don't exactly understand what's going on. There's a vampire woman that's like the boss, and she's taking over everything. You really don't see it. You don't see no evidence of her actually taking over this, this neighborhood, her usurping the vampire way, the vampire hierarchy. You don't see any evidence of a buildup of it except there's like a one shot of she owning this realty company, and you're like, okay, so she's buying up the land or whatever. And even then, it's touched on but never really delved into. So, and the thing about it is, the only real reason that she ends up coming to conflict with Jamie Foxx's character is because what he does at the beginning of the movie. Outside of that, you don't really see any references of her being like, okay, I got to take this dude. Like he's a vampire killer, and she seemingly doesn't know who he is, even though he's killing vampires all the time in the exact same city. I don't think they ever really reference that she knows who he is, and she's this big vampire mover, and he's with this network, and you would think that they would know who she is, and it kind of comes off like, despite these two networks, they don't really know about each other. So it's interesting, but it's also kind of weird how they kind of play this. Basically, this is like the MIB of vampires, and not that we haven't seen this before in film, like Van Helsing or there's other movies that play the same thing. But even still, this it feels like a lot's missing. Even with his marital problems, you're like, there's like the buildup. There's no buildup of you see what happens as an eventuality of his lying and him not telling his wife what's going on, but you don't really see the buildup of it. And it even comes off a bit, even the way the movie kind of plays is you kind of understand why he's not telling her, but you also see why she doesn't. I don't. The way they kind of present her is that she's like a bad guy because she's doing all of this extra stuff that comes in a conflict with him. It does feel a bit contrived a little bit. So, anyways, Day Shift was one of those films and it was decent. I watched it. Probably never watch it again. It's not really a decent. It's a meh. It's up there with Creature of the Mist. Could have been better. There could have been different avenues that it could have went to both emphasize on the writing and the horror aspects. I will say this though, Megan Fox has never looked finer than she has in that film. She is gorgeous in this film, and even the woman that plays the vampire chick, gorgeous. She's just fine. So here we go with that. Moving on. Of course, we got to talk about Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness because it does utilize horror elements in it, and it was somewhat marketed as a horror-themed Marvel film. And I don't know what to say about this. Y'all see my reviews and discussion about this. This was a bad movie. Even the horror elements weren't good. And a lot of it was because just piss poor writing. The writing was just piss poor. It was very tamed. It was the decision making was really, really bad. The people that actually wrote this, or the person that wrote this, really don't like Doctor Strange as a character. They really lack talent. They really lack nuance, especially when it comes to character like Scarlet Witch and how and it kills me because Sam Raimi, you can see those elements of him in this film of how he stylizes horror. But the problem is, it feels rushed. It doesn't feel focused. It doesn't feel like it has the correct amount of energy to it. It's not emphasizing the things that would make it a good film. The whole aspect of playing Wanda as this sympathetic villain isn't portrayed right. You do somewhat understand where she's coming from, but the way that the end game of it, the overarching build of it, just doesn't fit. I said it once before in my previous videos. I said, hey, what it should have been was the evil Doctor Strange was using the black book, the black grimoire, the Necronomicon, whatever that damn book, what an evil book or whatever, to manipulate Scarlet Witch to cause this big imbalance and to try to find this girl so that way he can escape his dimension and cause further damage to the rest of the multiverse. That would have made Scarlet Witch's character a bit more unique in terms of a character. You feel you definitely have more of a sympathetic side to her because she is being manipulated and by somebody else, which I would have bought that. And Strange himself just ultimately feels so lackluster. I was watching the fight between him and Peter Parker in Spider-Man No Way Home. I watched the fight between him and Thanos. I watched the fight between him and whatever that guy, one of the Black Order fight with him, and the one guy that used telekinesis. And every single one of those battles was 10 times better, especially the Thanos fight, which was a big which thinking of that fight and thinking of what you see in Multiverse of Madness is just absolutely pathetic because this is Scarlet Witch, the agent of chaos, one of the strongest Avengers and one of the strongest characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And you have Doctor Strange, who is somewhat Omega level and one of the most powerfulest magic users in the MCU. Why in the hell was their fight not that much more epic than what it was? And even when we see them fighting, Wanda fighting the Illuminati and everything, it was pathetic. Pathetic. It was really pathetic. It was very it was somewhat entertaining, but giving the key players that it had utilized, it was really bad. You got some of the biggest names in Marvel comics, and they're sitting here fighting Scarlet Witch. You would think there it was be a bit more cohesion, cooperative effort. The men characters wouldn't be basically one hit KO'd, which is what they were. It was just absolutely pathetic. And then they did have moments, a moment where it was like horror themed. I would say it was at least two to three moments where it felt like a horror theme, like horror. And even those weren't done particularly well. They looked kind of cool, but they weren't done well. So just and Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness was just a bad movie all around. It did have some entertainment here and there, but just when you don't give a fuck about the property and you just throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks, this is what you get. This is definitely what you get. I would like them to Snyder cut this film. I want them to go back and redo this movie. I really do. I would support that. I would Snyder cut this movie. or just do something. Just do something. This is probably one of the worst movies of this year. Um, and speaking of worst movies of this year, one of the worst, the absolute worst last films in a series, Halloween Ends, was just absolutely dog crap. I cannot defend this film. I will not defend this film. I won't let it slide. This movie was an absolute joke. The people that write these movies that have written Halloween 2018, Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends are a bunch of hacks and do not deserve to be in the film industry any longer. What happened to the damn day where you got jobs based on merit? If you wrote a movie and it was good, you got more jobs. If you wrote a movie and it was bad, you probably wouldn't get another job for a while. This whole Halloween experience has been just absolute garbage. If you see my 2018 film review, you know I didn't like it. If you see my Halloween Kills review, you damn sure know I didn't like it. And I'm saying it here now. Halloween Ends is just absolute garbage. I was disappointed. I was frustrated. One of the problems that I've seen with this series so far is they've had stupid characters and unlikable characters. And they're stupid and unlikable on purpose. And I've always said that I hate seeing movies where characters die because they're stupid and you root for them to die because they're unlikable. Why is it as particular, and not even just in these films? I went back, watched kind of the Scream films, I watched the Saw films, I've watched a lot of these older movies and stuff where it's like, Nightmare on Elm Street, um, which Nightmare on Elm Street not so much, but Friday the 13th, and the Jeepers Creepers, and you're like, well, why in the world do we have just these people write so unlikable characters? Like they are just pathetic. How bad these characters are. Why are they written to be so stupid? And why are they written to like if you watch these Halloween films, majority of the film, the characters are assholes. They're for no reason whatsoever. In this film, every character is pretty much an asshole. There's a homeless guy that's a nut for some reason. They make homeless people out to be just crazy. Yes, I know some suffer from some issues, but some are actually highly intelligent. Some are actually decent people that just fell on hard times. Things happen. But in this film, you got a homeless guy that's just a freak. You got these band students that are treating adults with disrespect. Uh, you got the main protagonist Corey, who just how his arc goes does not make any sense whatsoever. Just ultimately, when it comes to characters, there is literally no reason for the characters to be like bad like this. And even look at Halloween Kills, a lot of them characters were just like assholes for no freaking reason. So the reason why I don't like this film is the writing. The writing is absolute trash. This is not a Michael Myers film, and there is a way that this could have been played as a good Michael Myers film. Because in the film, there's this boy Corey who ends up killing the kid on accident, which the kid was an asshole. Honestly, I didn't feel sorry for him. I was like, yeah, you little bastard. But even the build up for that didn't really make any sense. So we're talking about this. So Corey doesn't go to jail, but the town ends up thinking of him as a freak. Laurie Strode. This is 4 years after Halloween Kills. Laurie Strode is and her daughter. Can't remember her daughter's name now. Allison. Allison, I think it is. They're living together. They're peaches and cream. Everything's life is good. People blame Laurie for what Michael did, even though she tried to kill Michael, and him coming there killing people had little, if not anything, to do with her, especially since other parties uh, were the reason he escaped. They don't mention her daughter getting killed at the Halloween Kills movie, really. And then there's this DJ, the funny scene, but he was an asshole. And of course, all the characters ever do is talk about Michael Myers. And somebody said it, and I even noticed it too. In this film, of course, it takes place about Halloween. If Michael Myers has shed such a dark light on Halloween with all the people he's killed over the years and everything, why is this place still celebrating Halloween? Because they're gung ho for it. When you sit here and you think about Laurie Strode and her granddaughter, why the hell are they still there? It's never, and they give a half-ass reason where it's like, well, my memories are here. Make new memories. I don't understand why they haven't left. That's why when the movies like this, where it's like Scream 2, where these people are living in this town, and every so often some bad crap happens, and they stay there for no reason. They come back there for no reason, and that's what practically happens in this one. Anyways, the story is basically Corey, who's dealing with all the pressures of society that view him as a freak. Even though people would not act like this, I would think they wouldn't, especially some of the characters that they do have in here, which is weird because I'm like, y'all blame this dude, y'all call him a kid killer, but I'm like, why are you messing with him? If he killed a kid, he probably kill you too. So just stupid. But anyways, so you like watching it and everything, and you're like, why are these characters acting like this? Corey is basically being set up to be the next Michael Myers because he ends up basically meeting him, and Michael lets him live for no reason. There ain't been like a thing where Michael's been killing people slowly, but there you would think if Michael Myers is still in the town, which he is, that perhaps people are coming up missing here and there. Maybe they'll find a dead body here and there, and they've been looking for him. No, that's not a thing. Michael's staying in the sewer. They don't play with that idea. Like they don't play like who else is a killer that stays in the sewer? Pennywise. You would think that he would play like a Pennywise type role, utilizing the sewers to, kill people and he'll disappear into the sewers. You would think that would be something. They don't use that. And then Corey ends up basically coming. I know I ain't say I was going to talk about spoilers in it, but I'm just going to jump into that in like this film. Uh, Corey becomes basically the new Michael Myers and everything, even though it doesn't make sense for him to do so, even though he could have left that town and went and made a new life for himself because like, other people do that. That's a thing. And it's not like, okay, he killed a kid, he gets out, and then people start dying and they think it's him doing it. But it's actually Michael doing it. That would have been a much more compelling story because now he has to prove his innocence, and while Michael's doing his thing. But it's not that. It's literally Michael's not doing shit. He shows up. He starts killing people for no reason. I mean, he kills the people that mainly wronged him because these people are again assholes, and even the kills themselves, they're one or two decent ones. The rest of them are shot pretty well. Weird. One of the things I would say, a lot of the stuff that goes on in the movie is shot really weird. That doesn't really make sense. There's a sequence where Corey's fighting with Michael, but it's shot like 20 feet away, so you don't actually see it. Uh, people get killed, but the camera focuses past them getting killed, so you don't actually, so you kind of see it, but you don't kind of see it. Just people get killed, but it cuts away. Just Halloween ends. You know when I made that joke in my Halloween kills discussion review, I was like Halloween kills the franchise. Well, Halloween ends the franchise now. Like this, they don't need to make another sequel anymore. Laurie Strode shouldn't come back. They need to end the story. They did not do a good job whatsoever. This whole supernatural thing that they had Michael going through in the previous film is it's not here. The way it ends sucks. Even though they try to make it seem like there's going to be this climactic battle between Laurie and Michael, pathetic. Michael is literally a tired old man. There's literally no but it don't make sense because it was a tired old man in the previous films. So I literally just was a bad movie. This was a bad movie, just bad. One of the worst of this year, actually. Uh, Speaking of talking about a classic, I seen the new Hellraiser film. This one could have been better. It wasn't bad. It just could have been better. The main chick was absolute trash, and again, it goes back to what I'm saying about we having characters here that are absolute garbage. They're not interesting. They're not likable. They're stupid. They make bad decisions. They're selfish, and you definitely see that in this film. This woman is, without a doubt, one of the worst characters I've seen. And they try to make this whole thing of her being like recovering addict be the shtick, to where be the shtick why you would sympathize her. Guess what? It did not work. I did not like her character. She was stupid. I didn't like her. I just absolutely didn't like her. It was just very troubling the direction that they would. And then on top of that, she is supposedly this addict, and then it never really comes up. Never really comes up. She gets several people killed. The way the box functions this time around, I like the way that they could transform it because you actually see it. In the other one, you don't really see them transform it. You see them like moving the hands like this on it, and they'll cut away, and then they'll cut back, and then this in a different shape, and they'll cut away, and they'll cut back, and this one you actually see them like moving the pieces and stuff. I thought that was pretty cool. The lore is a bit different this time around with it. I'm not really familiar with the story of Hellraiser. I've wanted to read the Hellbound since I found out it was actually a book, so I can have somewhere to compare it to. But I did think it was creepy here and there. It could have been a lot more creepier. If you're looking for gore, there's not really much gore. A lot of times it's done off screen, or it's never giving you time to gestate on it. I mean, it's like right now when you watch a Hellraiser film, it's got to be treated like meat. What happens before you cook meat? You sit it and you let it marinate in sauce and spices and stuff. So that way you have a bit more flavor. This film lacked that. Every time there was like a kill, it was either off screen or it happened, cut away. So, and the Cenobites, I would say I thought the Cenobites looked pretty cool. They were interesting. They looked gross as hell, but they were pretty interesting. I like the look of them. The chick that plays Hellraiser, or the dude that played Hellraiser, I don't know. The person that plays the Pinhead, Hell Priest, or whatever you want to call it, I thought they did a good job. They didn't do much, but I like the presence. I love the audio quality of the voice. It was deep. It was menacing. Yes, it's not the original guy, and I'm not looking for the original guy. There's really no reason, honestly, why this was played by a woman. It could have been played by a dude too, like the original one was. But that person did a decent job. I didn't mind. They didn't do no over the top crazy shit like I've seen the original Pinhead do, but they did a decent job. And I actually like the performance, the look, and the performance. Actually, you like the costume design, makeup effects, prosthetics, all that stuff just looks really, really good. Which is weird because it feels like all of That stuff, all of the budget went to make that stuff look really good, but not the gore, which again is practically non-existent. But I thought the movie was okay. The forgettable characters. The main chick I freaking hated. I wish she died. Not the actress, but the actual character. I wish that character would have just died. And this could have done a bit more. One of the best things I did like about it was kind of like the shift from the world, our world, to the Hellbound world, the Cenobite universe or whatever, where they have these gateways opening up everywhere. That was actually done exceptionally well. It was really cool. I like how different it was because it seemed like every time they did it, they switched it up and did something different. Uh, but yeah, ultimately, my biggest issue with this is kind of some of the lore changes that they did do, especially with the box. This time, I feel like it's a bit more grounded. Uh, or the reason why anybody would even mess with this box. I never understood it about the original. Who in the hell would pick up a stupid cube like that and be just touching it and doing it like that? That doesn't make any sense. This movie kind of it makes a little bit more sense why they would do it and the purpose of it all and the writing, really the writing. And again, it goes back to I'm just saying that the garbage writing. Like there's some bad writing in this, but it's nowhere near as bad as Halloween Ends or the next freaking film that comes up. So Hellraiser was all right. This is hands down one of the worst horror films, one of the worst sequels. If it is a reboot, it's one of the worst reboots. It's definitely one of the worst films of this year. And I would love to put it as the absolute worst. Jeepers Creepers Reborn. And I'm definitely going to come back and do a video about this, especially as a follow up to my Jeepers Creepers discussion that we had a while back, either in Breaker Debates or what's stream. Yeah, it was in Breaker Debates. This movie was just absolute trash. Almost next to no redeeming qualities whatsoever. At least with Halloween ends, there was some decent shots. There were some decent performances. There were some decent kills. Even with, it's just Doctor Strange. There were some decent shots. There were some decent moments. There were some decent performances. But Jeepers Creepers, everything about this movie is just trash. Absolute trash. For one thing, and I don't even like Jeepers Creepers 3. I don't like Jeepers Creepers 3. Jeepers Creepers 3, I don't want to say is a masterpiece compared to this film. And Jeepers Creepers 3 is trash. Some of the lowest trash you can possibly just watch. So what makes Jeepers Creepers Reborn bad? One, is it a decent horror film? No. It's a bad horror film. It's just bad for a lot of reasons. For one, it's not scary. It doesn't build tension or suspense. The pacing is bad. The locations aren't good. And the ones that they do have that are decent aren't properly utilized. The special effects, the makeup effects, the creeper design, the gore, all of that is just garbage. The creeper looks like a knockoff. This looks like the creeper's inbred cousin on his mother's side that stays in the Appalachian Mountains and hadn't seen civilization in years. It looks like a complete joke. One of the worst. I don't see how they thought it was a good idea. You come from this design and you go to this. This looks like a proto creeper. This looks like a creeper that's in this that's still developing. Who this is? The creeper's son. Anyway, it's just one of the worst. Just absolutely trash. It's like, did the people that make Jeepers Creepers not go back and look and see what this motherfucker look like? Just ugh, ugh, just a knockoff. Just trash. Just god dog. How in the world do you just make Jeepers Creepers officially fallen into the typical horror series formula at this point? You have a good first movie, a decent second movie, third movie where it falls off, and then the fourth movie just go straight direct to DVD quality. So the performances aren't really good. There are some decent ones here and there. The guy that plays Chase, the black dude, he's decent. Uh, he's a bit annoying at first, but then when things start to get serious, he actually I can buy him as want to try to protect his girlfriend. The characters are garbage. They are it's all woke crap. Uh, they definitely check the boxes off in this one. I will say this that whoever that Asian chick was, and this was just, I adore her. She was mm, holla at your boy. I wanted to holler at her. She looked nice. She was cute. She looked good too. But and in this movie, they do that stupid thing where the previous films aren't canon. They're like a movie series, kind of like what was it the Nightmare on Elm Street, uh, the last the Wes Craven's New Nightmare. The movies, the previous movies are actually movies in this series. In that film, they didn't actually have actually movies, and then this one's like that too, where the first three Jeepers Creepers films are films within this movie, and they're talking about the Creeper as an urban legend. One of the things that made the Creeper cool was nobody knew who the fuck he was. So why would he be an urban legend in this film? You got this one knucklehead Chase sitting here talking about the Creeper. And it's one thing I can't stand about films like this when there's a horror thing. I do not want my main protagonist talking about it. You see this in the Friday the 13th films. All they ever do is talk about Jason the entire time, even before the killings start happening. I'm like, I understand after the fact, but don't be talking about it leading us into it. You see it in Nightmare on Elm Street. You see this in Scream. You see this in Jeepers Creepers film. Like, don't talk about this shit. This man sitting here giving us a monologue for like 20 minutes about Jeepers Creepers. And I'm like, I've seen the first three films. Stop talking about it. The fact that this is an urban myth doesn't make any sense. And the way it was presented as an urban myth doesn't need, they shouldn't have done it. This film was definitely a missed opportunity. And this is why it makes me so mad because it was a missed opportunity. If you say, hey, they didn't have the budget for like the full creeper outfit, okay, fine. I could kind of get past that if it was done tactfully, and in this film it's not done tactfully at all. One of the best things about the creeper in the first two films was the lack of screen time, and then when we did have screen time it was utilized effectively, whereas in part three he just pops up every 5 fucking minutes, and in this film he pops up every 5 minutes. uh, it starts off, where it kind of has potential because when I first seen the trailer, when I first read up on it, Jeepers Creepers Reborn, I was like, okay, it's set in like a Halloween festival, and I was like, that's a good setting for the creeper. He can blend in, he can kill people, he can hunt. That would be a really good setting, and it starts off that way, and then it falls off as soon as it starts off. There's things that are happening in this film that doesn't make any sense. One of my biggest gripes about the other films is where all of these people, why everybody turns psychic when he shows up. There's always one person that turns psychic, and it doesn't really make any sense. And my whole thing was this: what they probably could have did with the psychic thing and made it better is Giselle should have been a psychic one, trying to stop him throughout the movies. That's been a good way to have a psychic character pop up and stay within the movies, and it made sense. But the other ones, somebody gets touched, and there's always apparently a woman. When she gets touched, she can see him killing people and stuff. So uh, this girl gets psychic visions out of the blue. She's pregnant. The creeper wants her. There's this cult, and the cult wasn't properly cultivated in a narrative. They just pop up here and there, and that's it. And I was like, well, why don't the cult host the event, and then the creeper just kills people in the event? And you do somewhat get the sense that they're possibly doing this, but then the other half of the film starts and you're like, what the fuck is going on? Where did this haunted house bit come from? And it's not like, okay, they hosting the festival at the haunted house, because chasing this girl wins this escape room scenario in this house. And I'm thinking to myself, and then what makes it weird is the camera crew that try to do this escape room, they ain't even been to the house, so it's not set up. So it's like, what was the point of, like, I don't understand what the point was of them going to the festival. Like right now, if you look at it like this, okay, what was the point of the festival? They could have just, they were going to the festival and they end up having to win tickets to this escape room. Okay, fine. Why in the hell did they not win the tickets to the escape room, which is what would lead them to the house? That way you can bypass the whole festival thing altogether. Or why not have the festival at the house? So that way you can get the creeper killing people in the festival and him doing the little house bit. So just, this is just a bad movie. And then on this is just a bad movie. The writing is and direction are absolutely terrible. Whoever wrote this, no, I'm sorry. This was bad to the point like you don't need to write again. Don't quit your day job. Get a different job. I work a shitty job that I don't like. Hey, it happens. They don't need to write anymore. It is what it is. They don't need to direct anymore. It is what it is. Like this is, and then the green screen effects are some of the absolute worst. And you're telling me they couldn't find a graveyard to shoot this stuff in for free? Maybe there's some licensing fees and stuff that they need, but gosh, it's there's a scene at the end where these two cop cars are parked with the lights blaring, and it's obvious that they're in a green screen room. There's a part where the creeper does like this and his wings pop out. It's obvious he's in a green screen. The color, even the color palette is like during the edit changed, and you can see it. This whole cult thing, they wanting this girl, and she's pregnant, and the creeper wants her for some freaking reason. Never really explained. The cult, not explained. The escape room scenario wasn't explained. The festival doesn't make any sense why it was even introduced. The creeper gets his truck, which I, and in this film, apparently he's woken up after his 23-year hiatus. Why is the truck still working? I mean, is it part of the whole sentient thing? And if this is a reboot, they don't establish that his truck is sentient. And then there's a scene where he hits this tower. So I'm thinking, okay, there were power lines and stuff 23 years prior. And he knows about power lines. So what he did was he knocked the power out. No, it's a Wi-Fi tower. And I'm like, 23 years ago, they didn't have Wi-Fi towers. So how did he know to knock the Wi-Fi out? So just Jeepers Creepers is bad on every front, every freaking front. It's a terrible film. I wish nobody go watch it. I'm sorry I said I was interested in seeing it. It's people like me, horrible people like me, that the reason these movies are being made, because I was interested. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. It's just absolutely terrible. Moving on. I watched this movie called Matriarch with the Missus, and it's an interesting film. It definitely has its horror elements. This woman, excuse me, this woman ends up overdosing, and this black goop or whatever ends up infecting her. So she ends up going back home and finding out that this village of people, there's some really nasty crap going on in this village, and it's definitely involving her mom. This movie, I'm not going to say it was a bad movie. It definitely could have been better. Some of the suspense and build up that they have in the film feels a bit contrived and doesn't really feel necessarily earned. I do kind of buy that she has issues due to her mom, but I don't like the main character because she is a bit of an asshole. Now, they do say she got trauma, and people deal with trauma in different ways. But also, I don't like characters that have trauma and have issues, but they do nothing to try to fix those. They do nothing to try to confront them. They do nothing to try to resolve them. And she absolutely does nothing. All she does is do drugs, drinks, and I guess I don't know. All I know is she's a miserable individual who does absolutely nothing to help her deal with the issues. I mean, she goes running into stuff, and running is actually pretty healthy for dealing with like stress and stuff. So I'm not gonna say she doesn't do anything, but she has like psychiatric problems. Like she needs to go see a therapist. I'm not an advocate for like medication or anything like that, but she needs to go see someone. And in the film, they don't show her ever addressing this. And that's been my biggest problem was with her character because it was hard for me to sympathize with her, even when she was dealing with her mom, who's clearly not a good guy. You can tell her mom's off, but it's like even still, I'm like I don't really like her character, so it's like I don't really care. I will say that the way the direction that the movie does go, I didn't really see it going there. It was very weird where it went. Weird, but and in the ending, I was like, what the fuck is happening? But it's a decent film. It's a decent film. It has an interesting little story going on with it. I'm not sure if this is like this one. I definitely think could have been a bit better. And like I said, there's a certain twist, and the end happens, and the big reveal, what's going on. I'm like, okay, that's not bad. It's just still don't like the main character, so um, but I don't know. I don't know. This one was a decent watch. Probably won't watch it again, but it was decent. So just moving on. I watched Morbius, and I can see why people are disappointed in the film. I don't like characters like in this. Okay, this film does have some decent stuff going on in it. The way it's edited and the narration and stuff does pretty go at a decent pace. I thought it was going to be more of a slow build up before everything happens, but it wasn't. It's like everything jumps off in like 15 minutes, 15 20 minutes. But the reason why I had issues with this film uh, is the fact that it just felt so tame. I don't like watching a movie where you have somebody that's like a vamp. Like it's like watching a Hulk film, but the Hulk doesn't destroy shit. This is a vampire film, but you don't see blood, you don't see gore like that. And there's some little bit here and there, but it plays itself a little too safe. Morbius character, I don't really like him because again, he's too much of a safe character. He just happens to be this guy that develops this blood, this fake blood, and of course he turns to the vampire. So the very stuff that he developed, he has to get. I'm like, then where is the and it's like where is you the thing where you feel for his character? He can just suck on his drink this artificial blood and stuff. Now they try to fix that by saying, okay, well, he has to figure something out because the blood isn't working over time. So the more of it he drinks, the less time he has when he drinks it. So he could drink it and be good for a day, and then drink it the next time, and then be good for like 20 hours, and drink it again, and then be good for 18 hours. So it's doing that countdown. But I'm like, so take the artificial blood out and have it to where he's killing people. Let that be the thing because he would be more regretful. It shows a bit more understandable. Like you see the ramifications of his actions. In this film, you don't really see that. You see what it could be, and there are moments where he thinks that he's done something wrong, but it just doesn't. Ultimately, it doesn't really feel like there's stakes because of that. Like if he sat there and he killed like I don't know, a school bus full of kids or something, that would allow a character to act. You get to see the regret, the bad, the regret and stuff that he's regret he has for doing that. You don't really get that in this film. You see, like I said, you should be able to see it, but you don't see it at all. And kind of this thing where Matt Smith, like Jared Leto, I like him, and I like him. He's a good actor. I know everybody don't like him as a Joker. I like him as a Joker. I just wish he had more screen time. And he does a decent job as Morbius as the character. My interpretation of Morbius, he's more of an anti-hero and more of a tragic villain. But like I want to see him basically fuck shit up. You don't really get that in this film. You don't get that he's like this force of nature that needs to be stopped, and he has to stop himself because he stops himself before he can ever become that force of nature. That's one thing I don't. It's kind of like when I watched the Venom film. I want Venom to be a evil motherfucker, but over time he becomes the lethal protector, and it's kind of hard because Eddie Brock's character is such a tame character, so it never gets to that point really. But like I said, going back to this film, Morbius and everything, and then when Matt Smith, which I love Matt Smith is one of my all-time favorite actors. It isn't, and yes, I've seen him on Doctor Who, which is what started me on him. But like I said, I've seen other previous films with him, and I actually liked him in, what was it, Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies. I thought he did a decent job in the Terminator film. I'm interested to see him in the House of the Dragon. I've seen some other stuff with Matt Smith, and every time somebody says Matt Smith, I'm like, I want to go there. I want to see what he can do. But I like Matt Smith. Matt Smith has like both of their characters have like tragic stories to them. But I felt like I like Matt Smith's character a bit more, even when he's like Jared Leto is like, well, I'm a monster now. I don't want you to be a monster. And then he says, well, you'd rather me die than try to figure it out. So like that, you kind of feel for his character. And even though his character does kind of turn rather quickly, I actually kind of liked it because I like characters kind of like that. He doesn't turn as fast as, say, I don't know, Jamie Foxx's Electro does, but it is him giving in to this urge, and it is other influences that are going on. I think when it comes to turning into villains, he did a better job than Jamie Foxx's Electro did in Amazing Spider-Man 2. Even I think he did a better job than Catwoman in fucking Batman Returns because she just started doing crazy shit after she came back, and I was like, so you turn into a cat, you just want to do stupid shit now, okay? But and then even with the fights and stuff, it should have been more use of practical effects. There was a bunch of slow mo you know, with the vampire fights and stuff like that. Could have been done a bit better. The the CGI could have been a bit better, but I'm not holding that really against the film, just based on the way it was shot. Like, okay, I see what they're kind of going for. I don't like I don't like this whole thing where people can't just be villains. They have to be deeper. Everybody has to be deeper instead of it just being, okay, Jared Leto's character just goes on a fucking killing spree, and then he kills a certain person, and after killing so many people, he just like it's like, oh, okay, I'm killing people. I can't be doing this. Maybe he killed somebody that he liked or loved or something, which caused the turn of his character. They didn't go with that. They didn't go with that. This could have been a better horror film, and I think it would have worked a bit better had it focused. I'm not sure. Like it's like it could focus on Morbius, but I would have liked it to kind of ramp up on the horror elements, kind of like The Fly a little bit. Yes, it's about him, but Gina Davis' character too, so you can kind of see all of this nasty shit going on from her perspective as well. But ultimately, I agree with critics and stuff. This is a missed opportunity. This is not the fact that it was a Morbius film. It just felt so tame. It's a film like this is like watching the Wolverine. There should be no fucking reason why some of the most violent characters in these comic book films have these tame films where there's no blood, there's no gore, there's no violence. And if it really wasn't outside of that initial transformation and outside of Matt Smith's character later on in the film, there would not be any gore or kills or really anything like that in this film at all. So it could have been this one of the films that was all right and it could have been better. I'm not gonna say it's the worst comic book film I've seen, but it's definitely not as good as it could have been. Speaking of which, a decent one finally is this film called No Exit, and it's about this girl that's a junkie, I guess, and she ends up getting stranded in this rest stop in the middle of like a blizzard while trying to go see her mom who's dying of some disease. And I don't really like her character either because she kind of comes off as like a selfish bitch. But uh, the film itself was decent. It stumbles. There's like a twist. There's like a twist or two that's going on in the film, and it does got good pacing. There is some tension. There are some surprises here and there. There are some decent shots. There are some decent um, performances as well. I like the setup, the snow, the rest stop, how they're able to capture, how they made this rest stop bigger than what it how bigger than what it was, and just ultimately the characters and stuff. This movie really surprised me. Could have been better, yes. But it was still a decent watch, and like I said, the performance was good. And even though I didn't like the main chick initially, she did kind of grow on me as the events of the film did begin to unfold. So this one wasn't the best horror film this year, but it was a decent one. It was a decent one. It was better than definitely better than Day Shift, Creature of the Mist, Matriarch, Hellraiser. But not by much, but it was definitely leaning more towards good than it was bad. Uh, then we had Orphan First Kill. I haven't seen the first Orphan. In fact, the damn movie is right here. Come on, homeboy, let me borrow it. And I'm too sorry to pop this bad boy in and watch it, which I probably might watch it after this. But supposed to be the origins of the Dutch girl Esther. I don't know if she's Dutch. I don't even know why I said that. But I'm gonna go back and watch this. Supposed to be an origin story, and by the time I finished watching this movie, I was like, was this even needed? Because it gave, and I'm guessing when I go back and watch Orphan, like it sets up stuff for that film. So I'm like, okay, this is what happened. This is how she got to this point. This is how she got this. This is why she knows this and everything. But this film just felt unnecessary. It has an interesting twist in it. I will say that, but the film kind of sets this character up as like this badass force of nature that you can't mess with. This chick. She'll manipulate everybody. She'll kill anyone. She is ruthless to the bone. And when the movie initially starts up, within the first 10, 15 minutes of you see that, you're like, okay, she's not a good person. She's a really, really bad person. And then after those initial 15 minutes, it falls off the wayside. And it's like, whoa, what happened? That's definitely a change of pace. Now she ends up coming to him using, she ends up scheming herself to America to this extremely rich family, and then the story slows down a lot. Again, it's got a really good twist behind it. Really good twist. I give it to him. It caught me off guard. But even then, the way it sets her up as like the victim, and it didn't have the power play that I thought they were gonna go for. So I'm like watching this, and I'm like, so she's gonna do this to these people, and they kind of deserve it. But I'm like, well, why would you make it to where she's sympathetic? And it's not that she's sympathetic, but the characters just not. I'm not gonna say the characters. There was one character in particular. I was like, what is wrong with this dude? Something's wrong with him. And even how things are set up within this twist around his family and everything, it starts off like it could be good, and then they just drop it almost immediately. So this movie, and then on top of it, I don't understand why they call it First Kill. By the time the movie starts, she's killed people before. Hell, she kills a person like she kills like two people within the first like 15 minutes. But it's established that she's possibly killed other. It's alluded to that she's killed other people before this. So I don't understand why they call it first kill. And the chick was okay. I didn't mind her, and I do agree with my wife that she does look older, and why they just didn't recast her, um, or did something, de-aged her a bit more, or something. I don't know. Stranger Thing season 4. Anybody? Princess Leia from Star Wars. Anybody? There is the de-aging thing, or you could recast. And the woman didn't do a bad job or whatever, and they do a decent job of showing her. They do kind of fun camera tricks to make it, and of course, they have like a little kid actually for like faraway shots. They have a little kid play the role and everything, which those are kind of adorable. But this film was it was all right. It could have been better. It was all right. It was all right. Was it needed? No, not really. And I'm the type of guy that would like seeing stuff like origin stories for villains and stuff, where they come from and how they develop their mindset. But this one ultimately, nah, the way it was shot wasn't really needed. But I would say that Julia Stiles was sexy as hell in this film. Uh, Moving on. Of course, you had to go. I had to dip into some of these low budget films, and they were absolutely garbage. One of them was called Piranha Women, and it's about this man, this woman. This woman's having this disease that's killing her, hurting her, and she ends up getting herself treated and getting infused with piranha DNA. So now she's like this piranha lady, and I I don't know what the fuck was going on with this movie. I honestly don't know what the hell was going on in this movie. It felt like it didn't have any direction. Yeah, that was this scientist guy that was experimenting on women and turning them into piranha women. But it's like, what was the point of him doing this? Where was the tension? Where was the story? Were they trying to stop this guy from doing it? What was his end goal? That really don't. He's inventing these women that kill people, and does he actually care about that? Just this movie is just bad, and this is of course one of those low budget movies. And not all low budgets are bad, but there is a perception that if it's a low budget movie, it's going to be bad. And Jeepers Creepers Reborn was a low budget movie, and it was fucking terrible. And this movie could have been better. The relationship between the man and the wife wasn't really fleshed out enough. Initially, yes, but as the film went on, not really. How the cops really were piecing together these murders and stuff was just pretty lazy. The murders themselves weren't really cool. Yeah, you get boobage, you get some ass here and there, you get some nudity, but it wasn't really like not really worth it. It really wasn't. It was just I guess so. It is what it is. Just a bad movie. Plaga. Now this movie was just absolute garbage. Plaga Zombie American Invasion, and even this title is just fucking dumb. And it's about these aliens that do something to people, and they turn into zombies. And the and zombie. I'm wondering if I'm going to get burned out on zombie films, because I said I wasn't going to be burned out on comic book movie films, and then after Endgame, I wasn't interested in Marvel. Now, to Marvel's credit, maybe it's because it's not the fact that y'all were putting out a lot of Marvel stuff. It's the fact that y'all Marvel stuff was filled with woke garbage, and nobody likes woke garbage. I would say Phase 4 has been nothing but pretty much woke garbage. But this film, and I get like zombie films are just easy to make. They're a dime a dozen at this point. But this movie was just bad. There's this wrestler guy who gets fired from wrestling because he's a shitty wrestler, I guess. And these zombies pop up. And I hate these low budget zombie films because the zombies are always written shitty. In this film, they're inconsistent. They for one thing, the makeup is shit. You got blue zombies, you got green zombies with big boils, and pink zombies and yellow fucking zombies. and it just looked like people just look. It just like Play-Doh people just running around killing people. The zombies, they're inconsistent. If they eat people, you got some that eat people. You got some that attack people. You got some that tear people heads off. You're like, why are the fuck zombies doing this? Um, just and if they're intelligent, then let them act intelligent. But if they're not intelligent, don't let them be intelligent. And these zombies just do intelligent shit, but then when it's convenient for the story, they're not intelligent. The fights are just fucking garbage. The characters are just garbage. There's gore in it, and the gore is fucking dumb. It's lazy how they got it going. The performances are just fucking atrocious. This guy, the main guy, this wrestler dude, had this stupid bandana on his head the whole fucking movie, and his hair. And I'm like, he got this long, like 5 foot hair or whatever. And I'm like, it's obviously a fucking wig. And I'm like, why would you even put that on the character? It looks so out of place on him. It doesn't make sense why he wears it. The fact that he doesn't untie the fucking bandana at any point, you're like, it just doesn't look good. There's this dude that is obsessed with him. That's his friend, his fan, whatever it is. I wanted to punch this dude in the fucking face. He was so irritating. There was something wrong with this guy. And I was like, he's the type of guy, if there was like a zombie apocalypse, you feed his ass to the zombies immediately. Or hell, while they're eating his ass, you jump down there and fucking enjoying them and feasting on this dude. This dude was literally just fucking stupid on every level. There was literally no reason for this dude to even be acting like this. Whoever wrote this garbage is a dumbass. I was so pissed off. Every moment he would do something stupid, say something stupid. And I was like, gosh. And the performance, I don't want to see this guy doing in business and showbiz ever again. I don't want to see. I hope this killed his career. I hope this killed the writer's career. I hope this killed that guy's career. I hope this killed the director's career. There's a lot of people that attached this to the movie. The people that were in charge of the costume design. I hope this killed their career. Just this movie was just and yes, you can say, hey, Raphael, Martin, or well, what's the guy named Raphael or Nick or whatever the main guy's name um, was a decent character, but it's like, no, he wasn't. Just he was ultimately forgettable. He was lazy. He didn't have anything going for himself. This is one of those moments where I'm sitting here watching this freaking film and I'm like, this movie is just so frustrating. I can't turn my brain off and enjoy the stupid because it's just too fucking bad. This is one of the worst movies I've seen this film and this year. And it's not, again, not because it's low budget. I've seen low budget zombie films. State of Emergency, I really enjoyed that film and it was low budget. It's because you had decent characters and a good story. And this one is just absolute, just garbage. Garbage. Honestly, it was absolute garbage. Now, I don't know if this one movie is considered horror per se, but I enjoyed Prey. Prey is the prequel film to Predators. And yes, it does have some woke stuff in it. There is, of course, the female protagonist. I know that, but I don't think they beat you over the head with it. She wasn't perfect as a character. She made plenty of mistakes throughout the film. She did get fucked up here and there throughout the film. And I enjoyed that about the character. I ended up liking her. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing that in the past there were some girls that wanted to kind of to get out of those traditional roles. Cause that's the kind of girl she was. She didn't want to do what other women did. She kind of wanted to do what the dudes did. But I don't think that's bad because again, you got films like Mulan where she did something like that. You got Pocahontas where she wasn't necessarily the traditional girl. You know what I mean? So there are other films that showcase that. Uh, but this one I don't think they beat. And I just watched The Princess. This is nowhere near as bad as The Princess with that. And in that film, she was just doing the most in that movie. But this, if you compare this to the princess, you like no, the princess is far worse with that than Prey is. Prey, I feel, is a bit more, has a bit more nuance with it. Uh, but I actually liked it. I thought it had tension in it. I thought it had some really good kills. I thought that the action was pretty good. There was a lot of suspense. There were some pretty tense moments for me in this film. I like the Predator. I like how he acted in this film. I like the fact that he actually hunted in this film. I think the idea of like tribe of hunters versus basically an alien tribe of hunters was a good premise. I think the film would have worked a little bit better had it been them hunting the predator, uh, playing this kind of they hunting each other type game. Since the Indians know more about the land, use that to their advantage to hunt this creature that's foreign but can hunt too. I wish they would have played with that a little bit more. But I thought the movie was. I liked it. I really did enjoy this film. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. I really thought it was a really good film. It is one of my top three favorite Predator films. That being Predator, Predator Two, and now Prey. Well, actually, Predator Two is my favorite one. Then Predator, then Prey. But I enjoyed this one. I enjoyed this one. Also, I watched Scream 5. Did not like it. Yeah, they got some pretty good kills here and there, but I didn't like this film because I felt like this movie relies too much on the original cast to tell a good story, to have decent characters, and plus they keep screwing my boy Dewey over. They screwed him over really, really bad in this film. The main chick, I can't remember her name. I can't remember the main chick from the other films. She's in this movie, doesn't need to be in this movie. Gail, I don't like Gail's character. I've never liked Gail's character. In the first two movies, she looked pretty good. Um, and then like I looked at her, I'm sorry, she's an ugly woman. She just whatever she does, plastic surgery, uh, makeup, whatever that crap she's been doing, she just that's an ugly woman. I was hoping the killer would have killed her. Not the woman playing her, but the character itself, she's just an ugly looking woman. Whatever that she's doing, she needs to stop that shit. That's ugh. Did not like looking at her. I was like, ugh. How do you go from decently decent looking, actually fine, to just looking like this? And it wasn't age, just whatever she's doing in her life, she needs to stop that shit. Just ugh. But I didn't like her character, and I felt like her character should have died. And Dewey, this could have been a movie where Dewey steps up because she died. The new characters, of course, are fucking stupid, not likable. Take all of this as a joke. That's what happened in Scream 4. They take this killer killing people as a joke. And I'm like, that's just dumb. Why are you taking this as a joke? I didn't mind the one black chick that was, saying, okay, this is what you would do in a horror film. It's they don't leave. There's a moment where they track they talk about leaving and stuff. I'm like, yeah, they're gonna leave. That's fucking amazing. Then they don't. And I'm like, oh, for crying out loud. That's always been my issue with the Scream films. Like, leave. All your friends are dying. Get the fuck out of Dodge. So, and then I say this, they had one really good scene in this movie. I thought it was great. There's a scene where the main chick's sister, because at the beginning of the film, this girl gets stabbed up, but she's still alive. I don't understand fucking how, because she was literally like 4'8", weighing 90 pounds, and got stabbed like fucking 100 times. How she survived that, I don't know. But there's a scene where she's in the hospital, her legs messed up, her hands messed up, the killer's there, and she's trying to wheelchair her way away from him. Of course, her hands are messed up, so she can't really push herself, and she's still weak from while healing. So she's trying to get and it's very slow because she can only do so much. But it was great because the killer was just walking casually behind her, and it was a really good moment. It was tense. You're like, is she gonna make it? I love the way it was shot, the pacing of it. like moments like that. I like in movies. It's very tense, and you know what I'm saying. Because any other movie you see somebody get stabbed in the hand and the foot and get fucked up like this, and they can still punch it out of her nose. She couldn't, and I like that. They took that in consideration that she can't move like a regular person. And then after that, they messed it up by killing Dewey off, and then they killed him off in kind of like a dumb way. Um, but I did like when he fought him fighting the killer. He fucked the killer up. I did like that. So I get tired of them watching movies where the killer attacks a person and they can't defend, act like they can't defend themselves. No, Dewey fucked this dude, the killer up in this before he got killed. But anyways, it's a trope. There's this film talks about tropes and stuff, and then they, of course, all of these movies talk about different aspects of like horror films. Like one movie was like sequels. The next movie was about threequels. One movie was about reboots, and now we're talking about requels, reboots slash sequels, and stuff like that. So each one of them kind of does that. And they do that in this film. And you would think they would use common sense when they're making these decisions, because they were like, okay, who's going to get killed and all that. And like I said, some of the kills are pretty brutal. There are these moments where people get killed, but where the fuck is everybody else? You know, people put themselves in these weird, really weird positions where there'll be a bunch of people that normally would be there, or they ain't being there and everything. I didn't like that the main cast came back. I'm like, no, if you come back, and this is how I feel about it. One of them should have died in Scream 4. No, one of them should have died in, okay, you got the main three or whatever. They make it to the first two movies. In the third movie, one of them should have died. Don't that come close to dying, died. In the fourth movie, one of them should have died. And in the fifth movie, whoever because of three of them being there, yeah, it was cool seeing one of them die, but the wrong person died. But anyway, then the main chick, her character isn't really given much to do. We don't see her in a good position in life, and then all of this tragedy hit her. For the moment we see her character, she just glum and she doesn't really have an emotion or anything. And I will say this: the girl looks fine. She looked good. She busting. I'd holler at her. She just wasn't really given nothing to do in terms of character development and expression and all of that. And that's more on the director and the writer. But Scream, I don't want to say it was a worse movie. Definitely would have been better. Okay, let's change things up, guys. We talk about another Halloween themed movie. It's not a horror movie, and that is The Curse of Bridge Hollow. And this stars Marlon Wayne and the little black girl from Stranger Things, and I think Keke Palmer or Kelly Rowland. I think it was Kelly. And it's about this family that moves to this small town and ends up unleashing this curse. They have this curse before midnight on Halloween, and this felt like a goosebump story. And there's a lot, and this one was basically just, yeah. Not that it was bad, but it could have been a lot better. I'm trying to think of how to say this, because I have a bunch of mixed emotions. Like this movie, I don't want to say it sucked, but it was by the numbers. It was something you see from like a Disney back in the old school Disney. It lacked content. It's this like kiddish movie, but it's trying to be serious. But when it tries to be serious, it's kind of ridiculous. This is kind of something I say you could probably let your kids watch. But it basically reminded me of Goosebumps with Jack Black. Came out a couple of years ago. That's basically what this film kind of comes off being. But I think that movie did a lot better. For one, Marlon Wayans, I didn't like him before, but since over the last couple of years, I've seen more of what he's been doing, and he's been actually growing on me as an actor in some of the more comedic roles that he does take. I did like him in what was it, the film A Haunted House, and I did thought it was the sequel was different. I seen one of his stand up comedies. I thought it was okay. Um, and I like some of the stuff that I've seen him in. I'm like, okay, he's basically getting better, growing on and everything. This film, I thought they were going in a certain direction about with his performance, but I was disappointed because they didn't. Basically he plays the same character he plays in every other movie, and one of the problems I had with this film also, because I'm like, why couldn't you just make him a very serious character? Why did he have to be cracking these jokes all the time? Why do you have to do the typical Marlon Wayne scream? Why? It's basically just a long string of why are you reverting back to formula when you could have just actually been a bit more, been something else, contributed something else different. Because from the moment he cracked his first joke, I'm like, I already know what his character is going to be like, and his character was just like that. Even the little girl, I like her in Stranger Things, but I think that she carried the performance that she would have in Stranger Things over to this film, and I think it kind of hurt this film too. It felt like these two people are comfortable in these roles, so put them in this film with these roles. And it's like instead of them actually being different characters, they actually kind of fell into these roles. Not saying that they did a bad job, but it's like, if I want to see her be like a smart ass, I'd watch her in Stranger Things because she's really good as a smart ass in Stranger Things. Marlon Wayans, if I want to see you be in a horror comedy where you're actually pretty funny, I'd either watch Scary Movie or a Haunted House. I don't need you to come out with another spooky thing. Like I would have liked him to be a little bit more serious. And in some capacity, his character does is serious, but it's weird because they keep throwing in these damn jokes, especially by him. Now it'd be different if he was pretty serious, and by the end of the movie he learns to laugh a bit more, learns to accept. Maybe there's a bit more trauma behind why he doesn't like Halloween, which they do delve into. Which I think that would have, even if he was like a, even if they wanted him to be funny, use Halloween as a catalyst to make him more serious, make him feel more grumpy about it and stuff. Kind of pull like a mixture of. Ooh, I almost knocked this down. Uh, Kind of do like a mixture of a haunted house mixed with I don't know, Christmas story or something. Make him be like Scrooge with Halloween, and his daughter inevitably shows him that you can have a good time and you can get over the trauma of your past and enjoy Halloween. But just it's just cheap jokes. And one of the things I can't stand about like a lot of black comedians when they have make movies, they always throw racist jokes out. And in this film, they do. There's like one scene where this mayor, who's a white woman, drives up in a pumpkin vehicle. And what's the first thing Marlon Wayne says? Who is this white woman driving up in this pumpkin vehicle? I was like, why would you say that? Do you have to say that? Was that supposed to be funny? Because it wasn't. It was stupid. And there's another scene later on where this kid jumps out of the bush on him and scares him. He's like, "What is wrong with you? Don't you know you're not supposed to jump out of a bush on a black man?" I was like, "So you're gonna reduce yourself to these really cheap jokes? They aren't funny. They're stupid. They're unnecessary, and they don't show you and they don't show any intelligence behind them. And I get tired of seeing these comedic roles with black actors, and they have to throw out these just racist jokes all the time. And best believe if there was the other way around, it'd be a big backlash. So if you want to be fair, don't do it at all. But the Curse of Bridge Hollow is basically a time waster for kids. When you start watching it, you know what it is. You know what's going to happen. Kelly Rowland, Keke Palmer, I can't remember. I think it's Kelly Rowland that's in the film as his wife. She's given nothing to do. She is literally not given shit to do. The entire time she's just standing around. Whenever Marlon Wayans, the girls are arguing, she might step in here and there. She really doesn't do much of nothing in this film. She actually acts like this housewife, and I'm sitting here watching it. It's like, is this a Stepford Wives or something? Is this Darling? I wish they would have gave her a bit more to do too. Maybe have a bit more influence on both these. Like because Marlon and his daughter in the film argued constantly, and it's not like you get a moment where she go talk to the daughter, she get a moment to talk to him. Usually she talks to him and tell him he's been too hard on the daughter, but it's not like she doesn't stand out as a character. These two do, but she doesn't. That's what I say. The mayor character stands out more than she does, and I wish they would have did that a bit better. Uh, ultimately, but like I said, it was all right. It was all right. I didn't really get too many laughs out of it, but it was all right. Uh, and then, oh my gosh, I have to talk about this one. I have to talk about it. I'm sorry. I wanted to see what Rob Zombie would do with his incarnation of the monsters. I heard people trashing this film. They say it's the worst film in the world. That Rob Zombie is just terrible. He just does the most with this film. And I watched it, and I thought the film was all right. I didn't really laugh. There was a whole lot of cheap humor in it. I didn't mind the dude that plays the Count, who was the granddad in the series. I thought he did a pretty decent job. Could have been better given better material, but he did a pretty decent job. Sherry Moon, I don't typically look at her as a good actress, but I thought she did a decent job as Lily Moon. I think that's her name, Lily. And I'm not saying this because I like her or like Rob Zombie or anything. I have recently watched The Monsters. This wasn't like I seen The Monsters years ago, and I'm basing my experience based on what I seen years ago. I seen this a few months. I was watching the show a few months ago. In fact, they had went on a trip. They were on a boat. They was on a cruise ship, and that was them dealing with people on the cruise ship and everything. It was funny, and I'm like, so I'm going off this a couple of months ago, and I'm like, I thought she did a decent job as her, even with some of the mannerisms. Somebody had said she acted more like Morticia Adams. I'm like, no, I've seen Morticia Adams. She doesn't act like Morticia. I feel like she does act like Lily Moon, where she enunciated the words, the way she acted, her relationship to her dad. I actually bought that. So those two I didn't mind. I know a lot of people are ripping, saying Sherry Moon can't act, but I think she did a decent job with that character. Now the dude that played Herman, I'm not gonna say he's particularly bad, but the way the character's written, I would say the way the character's written and portrayed, I didn't like it. I didn't mind the part where he's sitting here when he laughs because he actually laughs, and Herman laughs like, and doing like stuff like that. He does that, but the performance I think was, yeah, that wasn't Herman Monster. Now you could make the argument that he's younger, so he has a bit more energy because a lot of the flair comes of the series, the original series, comes from the fact that he's reserved. So when all of this stuff happens, when people are like running away from him and stuff like that, you know, him being reserved is what makes it funny. It feeds into the fact that he doesn't understand why people will act the way they act. So they could have did a better job with him. A better job with him. Most of the other characters that are pretty forgettable. I didn't mind the look. It's very colorful. They got some pretty cool lighting aspects. A lot of color themes that's in this film. A lot of bright colors too. I like the exploration of like the monster world that they got going on. The story is two stories basically. It's the how Lily and Herman meet, their love story, and kind of this side story where this gypsy lady wants to get their home to make it a casino to make some money. That one didn't interest me in the slightest. I didn't care about Lily's brother, which kind of explains why how Lily and Herman have a werewolf son because her brother's a werewolf. Didn't like his character either. I was more focused on the relationship between those two. I would have liked the relationship to be less instant attraction and more of them building up towards them liking each other, but it was basically instant attraction. Um, I thought the movie was like decent. It definitely could have been better, and I definitely felt like this. I didn't think of this more or less as a Rob Zombie movie. I'm used to when he has a movie or whatever, people are cussing unnecessarily and getting in violence and stuff. You really don't get that in this film. It could have been better, yes. It was decent. It was decent. I could actually walk away. I can actually walk away from this movie and be like, I would probably watch it again. Would I buy it? No. But if I probably would sit back and watch it again. I would. I would say Rob Zombie, maybe it's just me. This is just my opinion and everything. I thought he did a decent job with it. So another film that was decent and actually surprised me was Titanic 666, which I believe was made by the Asylum, and of course it's like a mixture of I want to, you know, it's basically Titanic, but it's with ghosts and people dying and stuff. This movie actually surprised me too because I thought Asylum makes a lot of garbage content. They do. I'm sorry, that it is what it is. Some of this stuff I do actually like. The Sharknado series I like. I actually did like the Avengers Grimm 2 Time Wars, the not the Suicide Squad, the Sinister Squad. Like I like those. I like one of the other two films that they've made as well. And Titanic 666 surprised me. I thought it was a decent film. The characters weren't overly stupid. The kills and stuff were kind of lazy, if you want to be honest. But it was like the story itself was decent. The one person I did really enjoy was the main woman in the film. I can't the captain chick because I like her because she played in Girlfriends, uh, television show like a romantic drama comedy television show that came out in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, and she ends up becoming one of the main girls in the show. And I really did like her. She did a good performance. The movie I thought was entertaining. Yes, it was stupid. Yes, poorly written. Yes, the special effects just you're just garbage, but it was still entertaining and an interesting retelling of Titanic story. In fact, I think was it a retelling or was it more of it happening? No. I don't want to say it was retold. I think this was more like, okay, the Titanic did happen before, but we're not doing the Titanic like that again. Yeah, because they did have like cell phones and stuff. So not that it was the Titanic, but it's like a continuation of the story of the Titanic. Like I said, it was, and there had some funny moments. And if any asylum film where people get killed or make crazy decisions, there's a lot of fun. I didn't mind this film. I didn't mind it. Is it a good horror film? No, but it's a fun time waster. And plus, like I said, the girl, the chick, I can't remember her name now. She was fine. Um, oh, also, Wormwood Apocalypse. Now, I'm not sure if this is considered actual horror, but it's zombies. And this film was okay. Uh, it was okay. Not really memorable. I think I watched one of the. I didn't realize that this was actually a sequel. Then I ended up seeing the. I thought I ended up watching the first one. I don't remember. And one thing I did like about this film was like the zombies and stuff. They emit like this gas, and the people use the gas for like to power equipment, to power lights, cars, vehicles, and stuff like that. Which is an interesting premise. Uh, there's this thing in the film where certain people, when they get bit or whatever, they don't fully transform into zombies. They kind of turn into these hybrids and they can control zombies and they don't feel pain like that. And I thought that was an interesting premise too. Um, really, this film was kind of forgettable because it does follow this guy. I guess he's like a bounty hunter and he hunts people. No, he's not really a bounty hunter. He finds like people, like healthy people, and takes them to this facility. And supposedly, his understanding is these people are going to get cured. But of course, you find out they're not getting cured; they're actually getting fucked up. And and I guess the population, a lot of the population is infected, and they got these pills, and these pills stop these people from turning. Now, why are they turning? I don't know. Maybe it's established in the previous film, but it's supposed to stop them from turning into zombies, even if they're not really bit. I don't think it's weird. But finding out that these people are infecting the people, and then using their bodies to create these pills. It was interesting, but it was kind of weird. And then they had this subplot of these bad guys trying to do bad shit, and that didn't go no well. Uh, and but I will say they had this one woman in there that was she was cute. She was rough around the edges, but she was pretty cute, pretty badass, and but she was rough around the edges. And just really the characters. If you look for tension, it's not there. The action, there's some. The makeup effects, so just and finally coming to our last film, World Ends at Camp Z. I watched this and I don't know what the fuck was going on. See, in this world, it's supposed to be modeled after the post pandemic. So now, instead of it being the pandemic disease or whatever virus, this a new virus is acting more like a zombie virus, I guess. And it's about this woman, this lawyer that comes to this camp because the camp's about to be being purchased by some rich tycoons, and it's about kind of like this relationship she has with the guy that runs the camp. And after some initial tension, you actually start liking these two characters. She doesn't feel too one dimensional. He doesn't really feel too one dimensional, and I end up liking these characters. But then the zombies end up coming in later on in the film, and the way that and I was talking to my wife about this. I hate watching zombie films where zombies just fucking come out of nowhere. And that's what happens in this film. There's no build up towards it. People turn into zombies with no build up towards it. And it just there's this drama that's going on between this girl and her boyfriend that's never really addressed. There are some characters that's in this film, but that really and it's weird because this film also made me think about something. How wealthy people and rich people are so disconnected from the real world and normal stuff. That stuff that's common sense to us, it's not common sense to them. And you see that in a couple of bits of the dialogue here and there. There is this one fine ass woman that's in this movie, and she's wearing these leather pants, and I was like, damn, she looks sexy as hell. And but even how she died was just stupid. I was like, so there's no build up. She just just what happened. Okay, fine. But this film was just forgettable. I was more interested in the I was more interested in how the relationship between these two was developing while this camp was being bought and before all the zombie stuff crap happened. I'm like, where all these damn zombies come from? This camp is supposedly closed. So really there shouldn't be nobody at the camp. So why all these zombies come from in the fucking camp? And like I said, I don't understand. I don't understand. Like when I finish watching this movie, and then all of these people are, and then like some of these characters become infected, but you're not sure why they're infected. Is it because the this contagion is airborne or something? Did they get bit? And you're like, why in the hell does this stuff happen? I'm literally watching this like, why is this happening like this? That some stuff happens that's not explained. There's one guy that gets kidnapped and tied up. I don't think they ever go back to that. Who tied him up? Who kidnapped him? I don't think they ever talk or say who did it. So it's like, so what was the point of that plot? There's a plot where there's a moment where these guys are trying to take somebody to a hospital who got shot, and then there's a checkpoint, and there's one military dude is at this checkpoint, and the checkpoint is in the open. I mean, there's some buildings and stuff around, but it's clearly in the open. And then this zombie attacks him, but all of these people in this truck, and nobody heard the zombie for one, or saw the zombie before he even came up. And then after that one zombie came up, then it's like, and instead of trying to help this guy, it like 20 more zombies show up out of nowhere. And I was like, so they got this one guy at this checkpoint. Should be at least two or three. And then there's this thing where they're saying, well, the camp was closed off. But I'm like, still, that didn't play a big role into it. There's this, the rich guys are there for a different reason than what they claim to be. That kind of becomes like a bit of drama, but that really doesn't go anywhere. So it's like character development is out the damn window. There's this moment where there's possibly is alluded to that there's an affair going on that isn't addressed. So just basically, this movie is just one big pile of potential that got flushed down a damn toilet. Could, like I said, you could play the whole zombies in the campgrounds aspect, or you could have just played this drama that works, that's focused on this woman seeing this man's livelihood being changed because the people that she represents is taking over the camp. That would have been a more compelling drama because I was more interested in that. But even where the film leaves off is like, okay, if this happened to these characters, I'm quite sure it's going to happen to this character. But neither here nor there. So, guys, that is my best and worst horror films of 2022. I've seen other ones. I want to talk about this movie called They Them that I watched, and I did not like that movie. I did not like it for a lot of reasons, but I think it actually is a 2021 film, and I didn't want to bring it up. But I'm going to look it up right now because if it is, guess what? I'm going to sit here and talk about this because I did not like that garbage of a movie. Oh, my Lord. It is. Hold on. Hold on a second. No, it ain't. I am not done. I'm not done. Okay. They, them. They, them. I did not like this freaking movie. And it's not because of the whole woke stuff that they put in. I thought that was actually a good, interesting way to actually dive into the subject of, what it means to be transgender, non-binary, gay. Like this movie could have been a good character study of that, understanding that mentality, the pressures that people have have from society, the families, the pressures from themselves, from the media. Like that could have been a really good character study of accepting oneself for who you believe you are, who you actually develop into. I thought this movie could have actually been just like dived into that. Unfortunately, this movie was just. I felt like it's like the like the previous film, The World Ends at Camp Z. It felt like it was one movie and somebody just tacked on the slasher elements because this is a slasher film. Unfortunately, the slasher aspect of it is almost feels like it's like less than 10 to 15 minutes of this film. Most of it is this drama that's unfolding at this camp. And I thought it was interesting learning about the conversion camps and stuff like that, getting a bit more context into what they are. But I would have liked this film to have been more because there are some moments where you have people talking to each other, explaining why they feel the way they feel, the pressures that they have on from society and everything. I like moments like those because it dives into who the characters are, what they represent, to where they're trying to go with themselves in life. Get an understanding. Unfortunately, the film has slight moments of that, but they are far and few between. And then also there's this, like Kevin Bacon's in the film and he plays this camp counselor. In a way that he's being portrayed is like it's not like the way the camp comes off is accepting of you know people of this woke the woke and the woke influence people, this new generation, and the color spectrum, whatever. I don't know how to freak say LGBTQ. That those people, LGBTQ uh, group. I don't know how to say it. And of course, the way the film is like he's pretending, and they start to do more and more extreme things as the movie goes on. But honestly, it's just the writing. For the most part, I didn't like any of the characters. I didn't. I thought all of the kids, the teenagers, wherever they are, I guess they were teenagers. I think all of them were assholes. They were selfish. They were disrespectful. They didn't have any likable qualities. They try to come off as they're basically just being pretentious. And they're like, well, since we don't want to be here, we're just going to act like assholes to everybody else. I don't like that, especially the main character. I did not like the main character at all. Had a stank face the entire freaking movie. Was disrespectful the entire freaking movie. Was selfish. Was just I don't like characters like that. And if you can't, and don't tell me it's like because they use they them. No, I just went over Halloween Ends. How I didn't like that character. Hellraiser. I didn't like that character. Make the matriarch. I didn't like that character. Just nobody likes characters that are assholes like this, and assholes literally for no reason to people that you don't know. And even if you do get a bad feeling about somebody, you still should show some respect until they actively show you something disrespectful or something like that. But ultimately, I don't like these kids because the they them character I didn't like. There was this Asian chick that was a lesbian, but she's got the socially uh, the socially I don't know the one with these women now. All that they always have the dark hair on the side, the color hair on top, which is the, for some reason that's a thing. It's like you can't be a lesbian without having that, without doing that. And she had the stank face too. And it was like one other character that like all of them are they weren't regular people to me. They were all like caricatures. They were all extreme. They weren't grounded. They didn't feel like like a regular person. They didn't really show depth of character. There was this gay black dude that's in the film, and even with his character, it wasn't that he was just gay. He's literally just over the top, and it's like so that's how you perceive women. So you perceive women that act like this all over the top when clearly none of the other females in the film acted like that. So that's one. That was my biggest issue with the writing, especially the characterization. It's like you can have characters be like that and they don't act as extreme as they did in this film. So and then the writing and was another thing. The fact that they didn't they didn't have a conversation of it. It was just they didn't expect they should have utilized this film to explore why you feel like this, why you feel like this, does your family feel this way, why do they feel this way. This could have been a good deep character study on the effects of how society views people like this and how they view themselves. Missed opportunity. And then the slasher bit was just what was the point? Like I don't understand what was the point of the whole slasher bit at all. It was you get a little bit of it at the beginning, you get 10 minutes of it at the end. That's it. The whole conversion camp thing just went left field. And even if you were going to do like a conversion camp thing, I would think you would do it in a much more smarter way than which was they're there to be taught how not to be, who they are. Why wouldn't y'all do this in a more strategic way, less extreme way? Because even the camp counselors, their methods start off nice, but then eventually they get more extreme as time goes on. There's a whole bunch of conveniences in the plot that don't make sense. Like there was one part, them decide to go digging through the office of the main office, and I'm like, why? Why would you want to? What tells you to do that? Why are you doing this? You have no reason to literally do this. And they end up finding an envelope. And in the envelope, there's pictures of kids being beaten and tortured, apparently at this camp over the years. And it looked like over the years since like the 1900s, early 1900s, because are black and white pictures leading up all the way to like now or whatever. And I'm thinking to myself, why was this in the damn desk? What possible reason would you have a bag of bruised kids in your desk in your main office, and it's not locked? There's literally no fucking reason. Now, if you say this was at that dude's house, fine, but there's literally no reason for this bag to be there. And so the kid is like, okay, this is what happened at the camp, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, why would you assume that this is what happened at the camp? I mean, there are pictures of kids being bruised and tortured and stuff, but you don't know if that's because this dude's doing like a report or doing research on it. You don't know if this is in a different country where there's slavery or anything like that. You don't really understand the context because it was literally just a bunch of random pictures. It wasn't you saw them in the counselors in the pictures doing it. It was literally just a bunch of random pictures. Is it suspicious? Yeah, but he said, "Oh, this is what happened to all the kids here," and I was like, "So why? One, how did you get to that conclusion? And two, why were they even in the damn drawer?" So, and this movie just pissed me off because it's preachy, it's preachy, it's pretentious, it's lazy, and any good direction that it could have had towards opening up a conversation about that type of lifestyle, those types of choices, those types of feelings, thoughts, were just washed away. And which is ultimately just a disappointing film, especially since I did not like the main characters. I did not like them at all. Well, I mean, one or two, I say this, one or two of the main characters were okay because they weren't assholes. The jock guy I thought was okay, and then there was the one girl, the blonde girl. She was okay because, like I said, they weren't assholes. They were actually they weren't deep characters, but they weren't assholes. Everybody else was just on some other shit. Just the most extreme you can possibly be. And it's like, wow. That's like if I was in the movie, casting a movie, and I'm black, and me getting into the movie, what happens? I sit here and I'm acting the stereotypical hood, black hood guy, and it's like you can be a black dude and not be a hood and be talking ghetto and all of these slurs and moving this exact same way, and that's where I felt like they did wrong with this film. And the fact that they made this a slasher was just stupid. It had nothing to do with it. And it's not like the slasher bits were, it wasn't like the slasher bits were here throughout the entire film. It's literally a little bit at the beginning, look and the rest at the end. The last 10, 15 minutes at the end, I damn near. No build up. You understand why by the end of the film why it happens, but honestly, it just was just ultimately a waste of time. So, all right, let's do this again. Thank you guys for watching this. Watch me sit here complaining about the best and worst horror films of this year. I can't wait till later on this year to do my best and worst films of this year. Hopefully it's not going to be 2 hours. Hopefully it'll be three, and I have somebody with me. Ken has definitely been wanting to jump back on the podcast with me. I really need to get to him. Need to get together on this because I do miss him, and maybe we can get Madam B on as well. But anyways, guys, in the comment section below, let me know what do you think about what was going on with these films. Do you agree which ones are the better ones, which ones are the worst? Ultimately, there ain't no best horror films, but there are pretty decent ones. Most of them sucked. Um, and let me know some good and bad ones that y'all have seen. Thank you guys for staying with me to the end on this. I don't think I've ever done a 2 hour streamlined podcast before. I don't even think we've done Breaking the Base at 2 hours. Well, I'm happy to say it. But anyways, yeah, I wanted to go ahead and say I've been working on the music and stuff. I'm almost done with uh, my second series of songs. They're video game songs. They're pretty good. They're pretty diverse. I hope you guys really enjoy them. I'm almost done with them. I got probably about 4 or 5 more songs to produce. I've been spending more time doing that than I have been actually doing YouTube, which I work and everything. And then, like I said, I've been working on my book. I have my card game that I've been working on. See, making these bad boys, testing them out, make sure that the rules and stuff are good. Then I'm going to hire somebody to design the cards, and then when I put my book out next year, the card game is going to go in conjunction with that. So when people read the book, they have the cards to fall back on. Now they play the card game, they want to read the book. And also another reason why I've been trying to push my music as well, is because at the same time I want to create a soundtrack for my book as well. You know, I started looking up all of these different, nerd, people rapping about anime and video games and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to use that to also promote my book. So I've got a lot going on. Also, I've been uploading a lot of stuff to the website too. So whatever you don't see on YouTube, check out the website. There's a lot of stuff that I put up on there: top tens, best and worst, verses, polls, reviews, just a lot of good content on the website. So, having said that, I'll definitely catch you guys later. Y'all have yourself a safe Halloween.